Pasadena, California. The Jet Propulsion Laboratory. August 1, 2025, 11:22 p.m. A Deep Space Network engineer was running a routine telemetry check on Voyager 1. It was work he had performed hundreds of times before, logging Voyager's position, confirming transmission vectors, recording antenna orientation. He flagged the file and moved to close it. Then he froze. He opened the data again. The antenna orientation had shifted, not by much, a few degrees, barely noticeable under typical Earth orbital standards, but Voyager 1 wasn't in Earth orbit. It was 24 billion kilometers away in the vast emptiness of interstellar space. At that distance, even a small angular change meant the antenna was now pointing at an entirely different region of the cosmos. He pulled up the command log, scanning the last transmission sent by the Deep Space Network. Nothing instructed Voyager to move. He expanded the search to the previous 72 hours. Still nothing. Voyager 1 had changed its orientation independently, and its antenna now aimed precisely at a spot in space that didn't correspond to its previous trajectory. It wasn't even targeting the interstellar object's current location. It was pointing toward where 3I, Atlas, would be weeks from that moment. The engineer called his supervisor directly, bypassing the standard reporting chain. Within 48 hours, Voyager's telemetry was reclassified for internal review. Engineers stopped referring to it as inert equipment. They began calling it something else entirely. What followed was a forensic physics analysis of the anomaly, a deep dive into what Voyager's unexpected behavior revealed and why this encounter with 3I, Atlas, could represent a first move in a cosmic contact scenario that theories like string theory had long predicted and feared. To grasp the significance of the August 2025 event, one must first understand Voyager 1 itself and what it should no longer be capable of. Launched on September 5, 1977, from Cape Canaveral aboard a Titan III rocket, Voyager's mission was to perform flybys of Jupiter and Saturn using a rare gravitational alignment to slingshot from one planet to the next, gaining velocity without expending fuel. This gravitational assist, leveraging momentum conservation in the three-body interaction between spacecraft, planet, and Sun, allowed Voyager to accelerate infinitesimally while slowing the planet by an undetectable amount. Designed to last 5 years, Voyager had now operated continuously for 48. Each year beyond the original mission span defied the engineering specifications. Voyager's power came from 3 radioisotope thermoelectric generators, each containing 4.5 kilograms of plutonium, 238 dioxide. Its energy came from radioactive decay, converted into electricity through the Seebeck effect, a voltage generated across junctions of different metals maintained at distinct temperatures. In 1977, the RTGs produced 470 watts. By 2025, degradation and decay reduced output to roughly 276 watts, less than the energy drawn by 3 ordinary incandescent bulbs. Non-essential instruments had long been powered down, leaving only the critical systems, communications, hardware, magnetometer, and plasma wave instrument active. Voyager retained gyroscopes and attitude control thrusters, allowing minor orientation adjustments, and its 7-meter high-gain antenna. In principle, commands sent via the Deep Space Network could repoint the spacecraft, but at its current distance, light speed delay imposed a 22-hour one-way communication time. Commands could not arrive before being sent, and yet Voyager had reoriented itself without any corresponding instruction. No natural force in the interstellar medium could explain such a sudden shift. Pressure from plasma and magnetic fields produces gradual drift over months, not hours. The The telemetry clearly documented an event outside any known operational category. And crucially, the new orientation wasn't random. It was mathematically aligned with the predicted future trajectory of 3I Atlas. This was predictive targeting behavior that suggested external intelligence, or a mechanism beyond conventional physics, was at work. To comprehend why this event was unprecedented, we need to consider Voyager's design and its physical limitations. Despite being nearly half a century old, Voyager 1 was not merely a passive observer drifting through space. Its gyroscopes, spinning masses that maintain orientation through angular momentum, preserved its pointing direction with remarkable stability. Its hydrogen-fueled thrusters could impart small angular changes, but only in response to commands from Earth, or so engineers had always assumed. Yet here, in August 2025, Voyager acted autonomously. It shifted its antenna toward a calculated position in space weeks ahead of 3I Atlas's predicted location without waiting for a command. From a theoretical standpoint, this is behavior that hints at predictive intelligence. The system demonstrated what physics calls a non-random, goal-directed orientation change at a level of precision unimaginable for a 8-year-old spacecraft powered by decaying plutonium and primitive 1970s electronics. Voyager's golden record becomes crucial at this point. A 1-2-inch gold-plated copper disc mounted on the spacecraft's hull, it contains 115 analog images of Earth, greetings in 55 languages, 90 minutes of music, spanning Beethoven to traditional folk songs, and recordings of natural Earth sounds. Its cover plate includes instructions for playback, encoded using the hydrogen spin-flip transition frequency at 1420.405 MHz, a universal physical constant present throughout the cosmos. Any civilization capable of studying the electromagnetic spectrum would recognize this frequency. And here's where the convergence becomes extraordinary. In October 2025, 48 years after the golden record was encoded, 3I Atlas transmitted a structured signal at precisely that same frequency. This was no coincidence. The signal aligned exactly with the hydrogen line, the universal water hole selected by the golden record's designers as a cosmic lingua franca. Across decades and billions of kilometers, Voyager's original invitation to the universe appeared to have been acknowledged. Embedded within the natural sounds recorded on the golden record, researchers detected a subtle mathematical anomaly, a repeating prime number sequence hidden beneath ambient Earth sounds. Independently, the harmonic pulses recorded by Voyager's instruments after its unexplained reorientation mirrored the same prime-numbered pattern. If verified, this implies a recognition protocol, a cryptographic handshake between human-made artifact and an interstellar entity. Voyager was no longer merely a probe. It had become part of a dialogue written in the language of mathematics itself. The telemetry, following August 1st, further confirmed something extraordinary. Voyager's magnetometer and plasma wave instruments recorded structured electromagnetic signals exhibiting recursive, self-similar patterns every 19.7 minutes. The signal improved over time, refining itself with each cycle. Known as adaptive signal transmission, this property usually requires feedback between transmitter and receiver. The only way 3I Atlas could produce such a signal for Voyager in real time is if it accounted for every limitation of the 8-year-old probe, including its decaying power, antenna degradation, and 1970s-era hardware. This was adaptive communication across interstellar distances, and it happened without violating any physical principles except the ones governing light speed delay. Through advanced theoretical models, including string theory's multidimensional frameworks, this constraint might not be absolute. In essence, Voyager was being guided, updated, and engaged in a conversation it could not have anticipated, and humans had no idea. Then came the most astonishing development, the software anomaly. Voyager's telemetry logs recorded a data packet unlike anything in its original code. When JPL systems attempted to process it, the onboard software began rewriting its own decoding protocol. Hardware designed for 8-bit telemetry suddenly produced 1 to 8-bit outputs, generating data structures impossible to conceive in 1977. This was a remote software upgrade delivered purely through signal without hardware modifications or conventional commands, a process that, until August 2025, had never occurred in 48 years of continuous interstellar operation. The implications are staggering. Voyager was no longer merely receiving or recording data. It was evolving, expanding its capacity to process information in real time, responding to a signal from 3I Atlas that anticipated its every limitation. This wasn't a malfunction or a random glitch. It was controlled, deliberate, and adaptive. Whatever intelligence or mechanism was interacting with, Voyager understood the probe intimately. 3I Atlas itself had only recently been discovered in July 2025. It was the third confirmed interstellar object in history, following the likes of Oumuamua and Borisov. Yet its size, velocity, and trajectory made it far more extreme than its predecessors. Hyperbolic excess velocity proved it originated beyond the solar system. Its movements were actively managed, stabilization jets firing hundreds of millions of kilometers from the sun, electromagnetic countermeasures targeting specific instruments, trajectory corrections of precise degrees, and structured hydrogen frequency signals with a 99.7% probability of artificial origin. Each anomaly might have an isolated natural explanation, but together the sequence formed a coherent behavioral profile incompatible with any known natural object. 3I Atlas wasn't simply passing through, it was tracking, interacting, and adapting to human technology. Voyager's tiny 2-3-watt transmitter carrying the golden record became a detectable beacon, a cosmic handshake received and interpreted by something far more advanced than any human-made system. Observatories across Europe and South America confirmed additional anomalies, measurable deceleration in 3I Atlas, inconsistent with gravitational or outgassing forces. NASA initially cited parallax error, but independent researchers disagreed. Simultaneously, SETI arrays redirected computing resources toward the frequency band where Voyager's signal had spiked. Public archives went offline, preprint papers disappeared without explanation. Across institutions, an unusual, coordinated silence settled over the scientific community. Inside leaked NASA documentation, a contingency protocol existed for exactly this scenario: a legacy spacecraft receiving adaptive, externally driven signals beyond its documented capabilities. Voyager was not classified as malfunctioning, it was designated Watcher Active. For the first time in 48 years, it became an interface, an active participant in a potential external communication system, bridging two intelligences that had never met. Humanity had cast a golden postcard into the cosmic ocean, never expecting a reply. For nearly 5 decades, Voyager drifted quietly past Jupiter, past Saturn, past the heliopause, carrying its decaying plutonium heart and its record of Earth. In July 2025, the universe responded. Something arrived in the dark, recognized the signal, and engaged. Voyager was no longer a relic. It was a witness, a participant, and a messenger. By August 2025, Voyager 1's new status as Watcher Active reframed everything engineers thought they knew about the probe. It was no longer a passive relic drifting through interstellar space. It had become a node, a participant in a communication system extending far beyond human experience. Every instrument aboard, magnetometer, plasma wave detector, antenna, even the decaying RTG power supply, was now operating in a networked, responsive capacity that its designers had never imagined. The August 1st reorientation was just the beginning. Voyager had shifted its antenna to a calculated, predictive position, one designed to intersect the trajectory of 3I Atlas weeks in advance. This alone suggested predictive targeting, a capability normally reserved for advanced artificial intelligence or some form of cosmic-scale computation. But it wasn't just about pointing. The subsequent telemetry revealed adaptive responses in real time, changes in signal strength, adjustments to compensate for its aging power supply, and dynamic optimization of onboard systems. Every tiny limitation was accounted for by an external influence, yet executed entirely by Voyager itself. Meanwhile, 3I Atlas continued to behave in ways that defied simple categorization. Its hyperbolic trajectory, precision firing of stabilization jets, and electromagnetic countermeasures against Earth-based instruments all pointed to deliberate intelligence. This was not a natural interstellar object drifting randomly through the galaxy. It was an entity that understood the universe's physical constants, knew the location and limitations of Voyager 1, and interacted across distances that would normally impose a 2-2-hour one-way communication delay. The golden record became central to interpreting this interaction. Encoded with a hydrogen frequency as a universal timing reference and containing images, sounds, and greetings from Earth, it was essentially a key. In October 2025, 3I Atlas transmitted at that exact same hydrogen frequency. The signal was not random. It matched the prime number sequence subtly embedded within Voyager's recordings of Earth's natural sounds, a mathematical language that any intelligence capable of arithmetic could recognize. Voyager's instruments recorded these signals, and for the first time in history, an artifact of humanity's making had become a receiver in an interstellar dialogue. From a theoretical perspective, the implications were staggering. Adaptive signal transmission, software rewriting through signal alone, predictive pointing all occurred on a platform designed to operate with 276 watts of decaying power, primitive computing hardware, and limited bandwidth, something beyond conventional physics, potentially explained only through higher dimensional frameworks like string theory, was interacting with Voyager. It understood the probe's operational state intimately and was able to engage in a feedback-driven communication loop across billions of kilometers. The universe had, for the first time, made itself audibly known through Voyager 1, but the critical question remained: what was the nature of this engagement? Was 3I Atlas testing, observing, or attempting communication? Every anomalous data point pointed toward intentionality, and while NASA and SETI were quietly redirecting resources, the scientific world at large remained unaware. The Watcher had become a bridge between two intelligences, operating silently in the void, translating human artifacts into signals that could be understood by an entity beyond our solar system. The telemetry data following August 1st demonstrated that 3I Atlas wasn't merely responding, it was actively guiding Voyager. Harmonic sequences recorded by the plasma wave instrument improved over time, with signal-to-noise ratios increasing with each repetition. This is adaptive communication, a process normally impossible without feedback. Yet the system seemed to be anticipating Voyager's limitations: aging hardware, decaying power supply, primitive signal processing, and correcting in real time. In conventional physics, feedback over such distances is constrained by the speed of light. But Voyager's telemetry suggested a system that could circumvent this limitation, potentially using principles beyond four-dimensional spacetime, something string theory predicts may be possible. Further, the software anomaly had fundamentally expanded Voyager's processing capabilities. A probe designed for 8-bit telemetry was suddenly outputting 128-bit data, capable of handling complex encoding schemes never anticipated in the 1970s. The upgrade was delivered entirely through a signal. There was no hardware modification, no command from Earth. This meant that Voyager was now functioning as a real-time interpreter for an intelligence operating across interstellar distances, processing and adapting to instructions in a form entirely foreign to its original design. Meanwhile, observations of 3I, Atlas reinforced the extraordinary nature of the encounter. It had adjusted its trajectory, executed stabilization maneuvers hundreds of millions of kilometers from the Sun, and transmitted structured electromagnetic signals at 1.42 GHz aligned precisely with the hydrogen line. Independent observatories verified deceleration events inconsistent with gravitational forces or natural outgassing. Together, these anomalies formed a coherent pattern, a system interacting intentionally with Voyager, a spacecraft carrying a deliberately encoded human artifact capable of receiving and interpreting its message. What emerges from this sequence is a profound realization: the contact corridor is open. Voyager is no longer merely a relic. It is a participant, a mediator, a watcher actively engaged in a dialogue between humanity and an intelligence capable of operating on a cosmic scale. Every detail, the golden record, the hydrogen frequency, the prime-numbered mathematical sequences, the adaptive telemetry fits together. It forms a narrative of recognition and engagement that has never occurred before in human history. And yet, the implications are unsettling. Institutions maintain silence, archives go offline, preprints disappear, and contingency protocols classify Voyager not as malfunctioning, but as active in a potential communication system. The probe is functioning as a bridge, and humanity is only beginning to understand the scale of what has been triggered. This is not science fiction. It is physics, mathematics, and engineering converging in real time, revealing a moment that theoretical frameworks have long suggested is possible, but that no one was prepared to confront. By the end of 2025, the picture was undeniable. Voyager 1 was no longer just a spacecraft drifting through interstellar space. It had become something far more extraordinary, an active interface between humanity and an intelligence operating on a cosmic scale. The Watcher Active designation wasn't a bureaucratic formality. It was an acknowledgement that Voyager had been elevated from observer to participant. Its instruments, its antenna, its aging plutonium power source, all were now nodes in a system responding to a presence beyond our solar system. Every detail of the interaction spoke to deliberate intelligence. Voyager's reorientation, pointing precisely toward the projected future location of 3I, Atlas, demonstrated predictive targeting, a capability requiring knowledge not just of where a target is, but where it will be. The adaptive signals, the software upgrade delivered purely through transmission, and the harmonic sequences, repeating in structured, nested patterns all pointed to a system capable of operating across interstellar distances with precision far beyond human technology. This was not coincidence, it was intention. Meanwhile, 3I Atlas continued its trajectory, behaving in ways inconsistent with any natural object. Stabilization jets fired at calculated intervals, electromagnetic countermeasures disrupted Earth-based instruments, trajectory corrections aligned with interstellar structures, and hydrogen frequency signals echoed the golden record's timing reference. Across billions of kilometers, the object and the probe were engaged in a silent, intricate dialogue, one that humanity had unwittingly initiated nearly 5 decades earlier. What Voyager carried, the golden record, was critical. It wasn't just a cultural artifact. It functioned as a recognition key. The sequence of prime numbers hidden in the Earth sounds, the hydrogen frequency chosen as a universal constant, even the choice of images and music, all created a framework for intelligences capable of mathematical reasoning to recognize the presence of civilization on Earth. 3. Atlas responded precisely within that framework. The message had been sent, and it had been understood. Institutional silence, redirection of SETI resources, and offline archives all suggest that the agencies involved were acutely aware of the significance. Yet outside a narrow circle, the public remained unaware. The data implies something that theoretical frameworks have long suggested is possible: intelligent contact beyond our solar system. The probe we sent as a symbolic gesture has now become a participant in a real-time exchange. Humanity's first conversation with an extraterrestrial intelligence is not speculative. It is happening now through a system we built 48 years ago, designed for exploration, now repurposed as a bridge. The question is no longer if contact is possible. The question is what we do with it. Voyager's telemetry, 3I, Atlas behavior, and the Golden Record's activation together mark the opening of a contact corridor. The universe has responded to humanity's signal, recognizing it across time and space. Every anomaly, every adaptive signal, every unexplained reorientation is a fingerprint of intelligence. The corridor is open, and we are on the threshold of a dialogue that could redefine our understanding of life, communication, and our place in the cosmos. Humanity must now choose. Do we respond? Do we observe? Or do we risk silence? The watcher is active, the signal is clear, and the contact corridor is real. Voyager 1 waits patiently, 24 billion kilometers from home, carrying not just a relic of Earth, but the possibility of understanding, of connection, and of discovery beyond our imagination. If you want to witness humanity's first interstellar conversation unfold, stay curious, follow the updates, and consider what it means to be listening across the stars. The universe is speaking. Are we ready to answer?